Linesider here. I want to talk to you today about my favorite inshore lure, the one that I usually start off fishing with all the time in the Vero Beach area, and that's the Z-Man Minnow Z in the Slam Shady color. This particular one is a 3-inch, and I got it on a 3/8 ounce jig head. This particular jig head is a hooked up jig, the Hank Brown hookup jig, and it's got 2 prongs, which I'll show you in a minute, which I like because it helps to hold the bait on. This one I just glued on, and you can see it's still wet. Just a couple minutes ago I just glued it on, and it's already holding really well. And you're going to want to hook it coming out right through these 2 fins on the Z-Man plastic, and I'll show you that in a second. But the reason I like this thing is because it's so durable. It gets fish to bite. Caught tons of tarpon on this, tons of big snook up to 42 inches on it. It's really versatile. If there's a fish there and he's not spooked by the thing, he's gonna bite it. And you know, you can work it real slow near the bottom for trout, or you can work it real fast on the top. You know, run it over the top of the heads of some hungry big snook. And yeah, it's my go-to lure. You probably seen me catch some fish on this thing, and at the end of the video I'll show you all the fish I've caught on this. It ranges from, you know, tiny little snook to, you know, like this big, to 42-inch snook, to, you know, 30-inch reds, 27-inch trout. I mean, it's a really good lure, and I like to feign cast it, and I like to reel it in really quickly most of the time when I'm looking for snook. But if I'm fishing for trout or tarpon, I'll work it a little bit slower and keep it near the bottom. But anyway, let me show you how I put it on the jig head, because that's almost as important as, you know, actually learning how to fish it. So we're going to switch over to the bench and show how I glue it on there. I like the Gorilla Super Glue in the gel formula. This stuff's a lot easier to work with than the actual drops. It stays in place a lot better on your jig head. Now this is the jig head I was telling you about, and as you can see, it's got the prongs on it right here. That's going to help hold and retain the swim bait on there. So what I like to do is I like to line it up, put it right dead in the middle right there, and you're going to want to come out. There's 2 fins right here. You're going to want to come out between those 2 fins somewhere back in this area, right about there. Now with this Elastec, it helps if you poke a little hole through there first and then pop it out right there. Came out pretty good location, came out right between those fins, like I was saying. That is in the middle, and of course the tail is down in this situation, and then you're going to push it up there. You're going to kind of push it up there. It's kind of like it doesn't want to go up there, right? Doesn't want to go up there, doesn't want to go up there, but eventually you can push it and push it, and then you kind of pull it, get that bulge out of there. So now it's on there. But if a fish hits it, and you skip it a few times, it's going to pull off. So that's why we want the super glue. We want the super glue to hold it on there and make sure it doesn't come off most of the day, if not all the day. So I'm going to move the camera down here to my prepping area. Now I got some toothpicks. You can use whatever, you know, a bobber, cork, stick, a mangrove root, whatever you got, but try not to get this stuff on your hands. I'm going to try not to use even the toothpick when I do this right now, but we'll see how that goes. Alright, so this has already been opened, and I'm going to try to put on a couple of drops right here. It's a little far from my glasses, so Not sure what I'm doing. I'm gonna swirl it around with the toothpick on there. Get some on there. Now it's gonna go on better now that it's wet from the super glue, but you don't have too long to get it on there. Alright, so now it's on there. You don't have to wait too long, but just make sure you're straight. Make sure you're still don't have that bulging situation. You're on as far as you want it to be, and yeah, after like a minute you can start pulling on this thing and it's not going to come off. Okay, now I've waited about 2 minutes after applying the super glue, Gorilla Glue, and as you can see, it's on there. It's on there real good. That's not going anywhere. That's what you want. Now, the best way to work this lure is you can let it fall down to the bottom and then just straight retrieve. Or, some people like to pick it up and drop it, or jerk it. But I kind of like to power fish. I kind of like to throw this and then make sure the tail is fluttering back and forth at an even rate. Make sure it's going straight. If it's going off to one side, you probably did something wrong. You got a bulge in here or your tail's not straight. Later on, if that happens after it's working good, you got grass on here, you got something going on wrong. Maybe you got a chunk bitten out by some kind of puffer fish or something. But anyway, it should go straight, and that's what I like to do. I like to throw it, retrieve it to a rate where the tail is going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, these particular lures, they come in several different sizes. This is the 3-inch, and it's called the Minnow Z's when it's the 3-inch. And then this one here is the 4-inch, and there's also a 5-inch. For some reason they call it the diesel minnow when it's the bigger size, the 4 or the 5-inch. But these are the slam shady colors. These are the colors that I like. In the Indian River, they kind of resemble a pilchard or maybe even a glass minnow. And I like the pink jig heads. I used to use a lot of the chartreuse, but either way, you want a color that's going to show up in the murky water. In the Indian River Lagoon, we got a lot of murky water, so you want a bright color like the pink or the chartreuse that'll show up, and it makes a nice contrast so that the fish can see that there is something. When they see that tail, they know there's something moving through the water. It's not just the pink head. They also feel the vibration and see the vibration of the tail. So that's it. That's my favorite go-to lure. This is the one I always have tied on. I always have a backup, but this is one of the ones I usually have almost always exclusively tied on in the 3/8 ounce size. Now you may find that you fish, different depths of water, and you may want a lighter weight. But this is good for me on my bait caster. I can really whip these things pretty far with the 3/8 ounce head, and I like to run them fairly quickly. So if you want a 1/4 ounce, if you want a 1/8 ounce, whatever ounce size you want, just try it and see what works best for your particular area or whatever particular depth you're fishing that day. Thanks so much for watching this. If you have any comments, you like some other kind of swim bait, please comment below. I know they all work. I just happen to like this one because of the material. The Elastec really is durable, and to me that's important being on a paddleboard. I don't want to be messing around with having my pants fall down, as they say, when the jig head pulls, or the bait pulls down on the jig head, and you got to push it back up, keep pushing it back up. I don't want to be doing that all day long on a paddleboard. I want it glued on, and I want this thing to last. I don't want it to get bit off by the first little trout that happens to nibble on it. So like and comment, and please subscribe, and let me know if you have any other questions or comments, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Jade Linesider, tight lines.